Chapter 4. Enoch, prophet of the Son of Man. Enoch, too, was a comforter of his people. He was one who lived in dreams and visions. One who was taken up into other worlds. One who foresaw the future and knew of the coming of the Son of Man. The book of Enoch was put aside by the early church fathers. Perhaps because it contains so much of the mystical. And mysticism has not always been a part of religion. Edgar Cayce gives Enoch as one who wrote many of the early books of the Bible. His life was not too unlike that of Asaph. He was given many of the things of the world. His children grew up about him. But he, too, was a stranger in the earth. One who sought out the meaning of life. One who wished to know the future as well as the past. Because of his great desire to understand the mysteries of the universe, and because of the deep prayer of his heart, God sent angels to take him to other realms. To other spheres. To the time of the future, and those things which must come to pass. And I asked the angel, who went with me and showed me all the hidden things, concerning the Son of Man. And he answered and said unto me, This is the Son of Man who hath righteousness, with whom dwelleth righteousness, and who revealeth all the treasures of that which is hidden, because the Lord of spirits hath chosen him, and whose lot is preeminent before the Lord of spirits. Here, apparently, Enoch is speaking of the Christ. Again he writes of the Christ. At that hour that Son of Man was named in the presence of the Lord of spirits, and his name before the head of days. Yes, before the sun and the signs were created. Before the stars of the heaven were made, his name was named before the Lord of spirits. And again, Enoch writes of his heavenly visions. And he came to me and greeted me with his voice and said unto me, The head of days or the ancient of days, God, greeted Enoch. Thou art the Son of Man who art born for righteousness, and righteousness abides over thee, and the righteousness of the head of days forsakes thee not. And all shall walk in thy ways, for righteousness never forsakes thee. With thee shall be their dwelling places, and with thee their lot. And they shall never be separated from thee forever. Hermes and Khans, the gods of Egypt, Hermes, the Nubian. Khans, the early Egyptian, were called the gods of the sun and moon. There are many, many passages in the writings of Enoch, also an incarnation of the Master, which relate to the sun and moon, far too many to give here. Rather, we are concerned with the similarity of the writings of Enoch to the writings of the teacher of righteousness, and the teachings of Jesus. We might ask how Enoch, if he were a former incarnation of Jesus, could behold the Christ centuries before Jesus became the Christ. Edgar Cayce makes it very clear in many readings that the former incarnations of Jesus were lived as a human being, with the strengths and weaknesses of a human being. It was Jesus who became the Christ. Thus, Enoch was beholding the Christ consciousness. That which had existed from the very beginning. The spiritual and overshadowing consciousness which had always been, and yet which was to become the Son of Man, Jesus, the Christ. Enoch tells a story of being allowed to live long enough to write of his dreams and visions. And that, then, he would be translated. In a reading given by Edgar Cayce, he says, He was made manifest in birth through the union of channels growing out of that thought of the Creator made manifest, but so expressed, so manifested as Enoch, as to merit the escaping of death. As to the physical consciousness and the Christ consciousness, Edgar Cayce gives. Christ is not a man. Jesus in one incarnation. Joshua in another. Melchizedek in another. Jesus was the man. Christ, the messenger. Christ in all ages. Jesus in one. In another reading, Edgar Cayce gave that there had never been a time in the history in the earth when there had not been a Christ and a Christ Mas. Again, Edgar Cayce gave. Jesus is the man. The activity, the mind, the relationships that he bore to others. Yea, he was mindful of friends. He was sociable. He was loving. He was kind. He was gentle. He grew faint. He grew weak. and yet gain that strength which he has promised in becoming the Christ by fulfilling and overcoming the world. Ye are made strong in body, in mind, in soul and purpose, by that power in Christ. The power, then, is in the Christ. The pattern is in Jesus. And these of the writings of Enoch seem to tell of Jesus, who is to come, as the Son of Man. But Enoch also beholds the Christ consciousness throughout earth. Observe, Enoch, these heavenly tablets, and read what is written thereon, and mark every fact. And I observed the heavenly tablets, and read everything which was written, and understood everything. I read the book of all the deeds of mankind, and all the children that shall be upon the earth to the remotest generation. And, forthwith, I blessed the great Lord, the King of glory, forever, in that he has made all the works of the world. And I extolled the Lord because of his patience, and blessed him because of the children of men. And after that I said, Blessed is the man who dies in righteousness and goodness, concerning whom there is no book of unrighteousness written, and against whom no day of judgment shall be found. And those 7 holy ones, angels of the Lord, brought me and placed me again on the earth before the very door of my house. They said unto me, Declare everything to thy son, Methuselah, and show to all thy children that no physical being is righteous in the sight of the Lord. For he is thy creator. 1 year we will leave thee with thy children. Record these visions for them, and testify to all thy children. And in the 2nd year, they, the angels, shall take thee from their midst. Translation, without physical death. Let thy heart be strong. For thy good shall announce righteousness to the good. The righteous with the righteous shall rejoice. And those that practice righteousness shall die on the account of men, and be taken away on account of the doings of the godless. And in those days they, the angel, ceased to speak to me, and I came to my people, blessing the Lord of the world. Enoch prophesies and sees visions for the people of the earth, from generation to generation. Yet he promises eternal goodness for those who love the Lord. If we take the words of Jesus and compare them to the written words of Enoch, the similarity is so great as to be almost incredible. We have taken some of the parallels, since space will not permit all of them to be given. We must remember that John was the beloved of Jesus, the youngest of the disciples. And perhaps John listened as Jesus talked of the mysteries. Because he was so close to Jesus, we have also made a comparison to the writings of John, the beloved. And a voice was heard from heaven. The elect shall possess light, joy, and peace. They shall inherit the earth. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. He shall select the righteous and holy from among them. For the day of their salvation has approached. And they shall become angels in heaven. Their countenance shall be bright with joy. The earth shall rejoice. And the elect shall possess it. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Your redemption draweth nigh. In the resurrection, they are as the angels of God in heaven. This is the Son of Man, who will reveal all the treasures of that which is concealed. Of Jesus, he, in whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and understanding. Then they said to their Lord, the King, Thou art the Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings. John, the beloved, writing of Jesus, King of kings, and Lord of lords. The throne of thy glory is forever and forever is thy name sanctified and glorified. Thou art blessed and glorified. Thou hast made all things, and all things are open and manifest before thee. Thou beholdest all things, and nothing can be concealed from thee. Of Jesus, thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory, and honor, and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are, and were, created. John, the beloved, writing also of his vision, and speaking of the Father and Son. I bless the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this great tree for the saints, formed it, and declared that he would give it to them. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on earth, as thy forefathers have lived. Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, and punishment afflict them. On either side of the river was a tree of life, which bore 12 manner of fruits, and yielded its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. John, the Beloved's vision. Enoch's prophetic visions. See also World Prophecy 1, 2, and 3. In the days of sinners the years shall be shortened, and everything done on earth shall be subverted and disappear in its season. There shall be famines and earthquakes in divers places. For then shall great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of time. In those days the fruits of the earth shall not flourish in their season, famine. Heaven shall stand still. The moon shall change its laws, and not be seen at its proper time. And all the stars shall be shut up, darkened. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. The sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. And the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And trouble shall seize them when they shall behold the Son of Woman sifting upon the throne of his glory. They shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory. He sat upon the throne of glory, while the book of the living was opened in his presence. I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before the throne. And the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. After this I beheld thousands of thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, and an infinite number of people standing before the Lord of spirits. Then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. In that day shall the elect ones sit upon a throne of glory, and he shall choose their conditions and countless habitations. In my Father's house are many mansions. In that day I will cause my elect one to dwell in the midst of them. I will change the face of the heavens. I will bless heaven and illuminate it forever. I will also change the face of the earth. I will bless it and cause those whom I have chosen to dwell upon it. I beheld and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne. And the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, and his words, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. The former heaven shall depart and pass away. A new heaven shall appear. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. In that place, I beheld a fountain of righteousness which never failed, encircled by many springs of wisdom. Of these, all the thirsty drank, and were filled with wisdom. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water spring up into everlasting life. He has preserved the lot of the righteous, because they have hated and rejected this world of iniquity, and have detested all its works. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment. Jude was a younger brother of Jesus according to tradition. Edgar Cayce indicated this, also. Enoch, also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment. Then that angel said unto me, Thou art the offspring of man, son of man, who art born for righteousness, and righteousness has rested on thee. The righteousness of the Ancient of Days, Jehovah, shall not forsake thee. On thee shall he call thee to peace in the name of the world. For from thence has peace gone forth since the world was created. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. From the vision of Daniel, who may be a former incarnation of John, the Beloved. I know a mystery, and have read the heavenly tablets, and have seen the holy books, and I have found written therein that all goodness and joy and glory are prepared for them, for the spirits of those who have died in righteousness. And that manifold good shall be given to you in recompense for your labors. And their spirit shall not perish, nor their memorial from before the face of the Great One, unto all the generations of the world. And I, John, saw these things and heard them. And when I had heard and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel which showed me these things. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life. I call the spirits of the good from the generation of light, and will change those who have been born in darkness, who have not, in their bodies, been recompensed with glory. I will bring them into the splendid light of those who love my holy name, and I will place each of them on a throne of glory. Let not your heart be troubled, ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. For, to the faithful shall he give faith in the mansions of righteousness. As my Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Here ends the vision of Enoch, the prophet. May the benediction of his prayer, and the gift of his appointed period, be with his beloved. Amen. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self with the glory which I had before the world was. And all mine are thine, and thine are mine. I am glorified in them. And now I come to thee, and these things I speak in the world that they might have my joy fulfilled in themselves. Edgar K.C. has given, and, as written in the Akashic Records, or God's Book of Remembrance, Enoch is a former incarnation of our Lord, Jesus, the Christ. Father, I will that they, also, whom thou hast given me be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which thou hast given me. For thou hast loved me before the foundations of the world. The Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Essenian order, or the School of Mysteries, would have had its inception at the time of Melchizedek, for it was he who knew the inner teachings, and passed them on to those who came after him. Edgar K.C. gives that the very site of Carmel was used by Samuel, Elijah, and Elisha. And it was here that the Essenes studied, worked, and lived in their community. They were very much aware of reincarnation, and through that which was handed down by Melchizedek, they knew of the concepts of the Temple Beautiful at the time of Ra-Ta and Hermes. The initiates of the Essenian order knew, then, not only of reincarnation, but it would seem that they were aware of the past embodiments of the one who was to become the Messiah. The Book of Enoch, according to the findings of the Dead Sea Scrolls scholars, would seem to have been their outstanding text, along with the writings of Jeshua, who was Deutero-Isaiah. With the exception of the Book of Esther, portions of all of the books of the Old Testament have been discovered in the scrolls. Recently, a number of books have been discovered in Egypt called the Gnostic Codices. These, too, are being studied, and they contain such treatises as a second act of Peter, with what appears to be Hermetic treatises. Fragments of a text on the cosmos. The Book of Thomas with secret words spoken by Jesus. Several books of Revelation, one relating to Adam, the first man. And a treatise on the truth of Zoroaster, an epistle of Peter to Philip. Asaph was one of the greatest astrologers of any age, according to the fragmentary writings of him on astrology that are left to us. Zend and Zoroaster fostered the study of the stars, so that the wise men, centuries later, knew of the coming of the Christ by the writing of the heavens. Did they know, also, that this was to be Zend, returned? As early as the Temple Beautiful, Ra-Ta and Hermes taught the study of astrology. Apparently, the Essenian order used astrology to foretell future events, as with the coming of the Lord, and it would seem that they also used the type of astrology, such as brought into India by Ram, whereby past incarnations can be identified. In this way, and through the intuition of the first teacher of righteousness, Asaph, they were aware that Enoch had been written by a former incarnation of Jesus, that their favored book of Joseph had been dictated by him in the months before his death. Deutero-Isaiah, written by Jeshua after the period of Asaph, has been designated by Dead Sea scholars as another book, most used by the Essenes. The conclusion, then, must be that those of this order knew not only of the past embodiments of Jesus, but that they awaited his coming as the Messiah for centuries. Long before the discovery of the Gnostic literature or the Dead Sea Scrolls, Edgar Cayce had given the past lives of Jesus, Enoch, Jeshua, Asaph. When scholars challenge the authenticity of Jesus because of the similarity of his teachings to these sacred books of the Essenes, it must be remembered that these teachings had been his own for generations. Enoch, then, was a wayshower, a prophet of the Christ which he would one day become. As Enoch gave, "This is the Son of Man who hath righteousness, his name was before the head of days. Yea, before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of the heavens were made. His name was named,